just some really interesting connections. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides, just showing you that history is repeating itself, like the theme of this video, repackaging all these are all ancient statues of Bel, and some of them look a little different, like the one in the middle and on the right in Rome. And interesting that they have people at the bottom laying there looking up at this thing in the same place where they would have sacrificed children many years ago. So doing that for the sake of art, they tell us, but it's all right there, like our first Masonic president here in the middle, and Baphomet, that right hand in the air, left foot forward, like they're doing the Macarena. They need to turn themselves around. You have the Bell Temple entrance starting to look familiar, starting to see that sun god stuff that they tie in. We looked at this earlier, and it's all coming from Babylon and Egypt, which was right next to Babylon. You see those chains there symbolizing that. And this is something my brother showed me with Bel, is they would resurrect this archway from the Temple of Bel in all these different places around the world on these high little, I guess what they would, unholy days of Satanism, on special times for them. They would put these things up and say, oh, it's just for some art exhibit. Like, really, there's no reason. There's no art. I mean, you're resurrecting a literal just like archway. This thing is hideous looking, and it's to pay tribute to Nimrod, to Bel's, all their false gods rolled into one. And you see here, Bel actually looks like the old images of Nimrod that we've seen. So I do believe it's literally the same
That's not
thing.
quick,
And
Josh.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry,
Can you hear me?
I can now.
I just
Yes.
want to say, since you're talking about Baal, I'm just going to throw this in. Okay. I just want to say that since you're talking about Baal, in some instances and contexts, Baal equals Lord. And that's all I'll say. Anybody that gets it knows what I'm talking about. So go ahead. I just want to
Yeah,
throw
that
that
was
in
the
there.
meaning of that name. I think there was many different lords or bells. They had different names, and like that quote from many one, and that Tower of Babel. And you had this was similar to the quote in Rob's book, where they were part of that Trinity, and this is in Babylon. You can see Tammuz in the middle, Semiramis, and Nimrod. And when you look to, I'll skip that verse because we've read that one. How close those kingdoms were, they're extremely close. You could literally walk along the coastlines to get from Kingdom of Babylon to Egypt. And when we look to Egypt, that's why we see the same Trinity aspect with their gods. And this is about to get kind of comical. They always had theirs in their what they called triads back then, with Osiris, Isis, and Horus, which to me that looks a lot like Tammuz right there in the middle. See the pose, see the staffs that he's holding. It's very similar. And this was the one that women were weeping over. That part of their unholy trinity, the women weeping for Tammuz that we read earlier. That is that character, and I believe it's one and the same with the Egyptian connection here, and that has resurfaced in America, in DC, which I always want to call it Rome now because it literally is exactly. They copy these things from Rome, and you always look at it and think they're just wanting to be capturing that artistic way of life and all of that, but it's for a reason. And that's why I think the oldest Catholic church in DC was erected by a Jesuit. And when you go through history, it goes, it transitions smoothly into Rome hijacking those pagan lies and bringing them to us and eliminating the Father. And the word tells us that the spirit of the Antichrist denies the Father and the Son. And so, what better way to deny both of them by simply merging them and going against the words that the beloved Son told us are extremely important